lasers. Dr. Evil would be happy that we have lasers. Alright, the lasers are on now. You can just barely see them in the center. Here, I'll zoom in for a second. I'm going to zoom in on the science camera just for briefly. See those two little green dots? Those are 10 centimeters apart. So those help us figure out the scale of what we're looking at. So those are attached to the camera. So wherever we look, they're at the middle. But I'm going to zoom out for the wide shot. So when we're zoomed out, you can just barely see them in the picture. So most of these boulders are over a meter across. Okay, so we're skirting the south side of this cone, heading to where the point where the chemical anomalies were seen with the AUV Sentry last year, which is a little bit south of this cone. But yeah, can we look at the sonar view? There we go. Anything we can do about the halos? Besides that, you had it pretty good before. That's got rid of one of them. There we go. That's better, I think. Just turned off a couple lights so the way this camera is positioned, so depending on which lights are on, we catch some reflection on the sides of the lens, so we're trying to minimize that. What's that?
One of my favorite things to write in the log is being
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You want to hover over him, or is it too late? It sounded like you needed to wait a little bit for the ship, so we'll take a look at this guy. I'm going to zoom in on him with a science cam. What happens if we don't find our vent? Well, then we're looking at the geology. That's part of what we're doing, figuring out the geology of the segment, and that's related to why the vents are here in the first place, but also that's just part of exploring a site where you don't know what's down there. You just have to look around, and sometimes you find extraordinary things and sometimes you don't. So, but on this particular dive, we'll look around here for a few hours for where there might be another set of events, and if we don't find them, then we'll move south to where we know there are events, where we've been diving the last few days, and we'll continue our sampling down there. So we're close enough to the vents we already know about that we can do both in the same dive. So we're combining a little bit of exploration at the beginning of this dive, and probably we'll end up at the smoker vents that we saw yesterday at the end of today's dive. So So a little bit of the unknown and the known today. So this is a deep sea glass sponge that we're zooming in on. It's attached to the bottom by a thin little stalk. Woo! We're just, yep.
If you want to leave your camera straight, I'll just fly in.
Okay, all right.
I'm adjusting when you're adjusting.
Yeah, okay. That's not working too well?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to leave the camera alone. Buzz is going to fly the ROV. If, yeah, it looks like we have time to do that. All right. All right, cool. So we're going to set down on the bottom briefly. We're waiting for the ship to come behind us, so we have a few minutes where we can do this before we continue moving in this direction. So again, these are this is what the normal seafloor looks like in the back arc, where there's away from hydrothermal vents. So of course, in the vents, there's a huge biomass right around the vents, but in the normal deep sea, there's where everything is relying on things that filter down from the upper ocean. It's pretty sparse.
So, Bill, what's this kind of dust stuff that I see on the rock?
It's sediment that's fallen down from above in the ocean, that light-colored stuff on the lava. So, boy, that's so white. It's just hard to get the iris down far enough. So it's funny that the last one had a little guy living on it too. Like, is that a hydroid or something? Well, let's see if I can zoom in more. So this is a glass sponge, and it's called glass because it's got glass spicules. That's part of its skeleton. Wow. What is that? I don't think so. It looks like it's got arms, though.
Yeah, but I think it might be.
Maybe it's a tiny crinoid.
Is it alive or is it something that's dying?
I don't know.
Really?
I think it's a crinoid because it's, or maybe it's a brittle star. Doesn't it sort of have a central disc and 5 legs? Yeah, but it's so tiny. It doesn't look particularly healthy, though. Huh? Yeah.
Okay, I got the ship coming up on me, so I'm going to take off again.
Okay, I'm going to zoom out here. Okay, so the ship's caught up, so we need to resume our transit. I'm just going to look down to figure out what orientation I'm at. Okay, there's the right arm. Here we go. Okay. So we're on the side of the